The Long Island serial killer. What do we know? The Long Island serial killer, also known as the Gilgo Beach Killer or the Craigslist Ripper, is an unknown serial killer, well, until now that is. The Long Island serial killer was responsible for the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Maureen Brenyard Barnes, Megan Waterman, and Amber Lynn Costello. They all happen to be sex workers. Let's take a look at the crime timeline, shall we? The killings are thought to have been as early as 1996, but unfortunately were not discovered until December of 2010. Police were actually investigating the disappearance of a New Jersey woman, Shannon Gilbert, when they discovered the remains of 10 to 16 people. Wow. The killer targeted mainly young women, most of whom, like I mentioned before, were advertising their work on websites like Craigslist. Their ages ranged from 22 to as high as 52, many of which were last seen in the vicinity of Gilgo Beach, a popular dumping ground for anything illegal. Shannon Gilbert, also a sex worker, disappeared on May 1st, 2010. Her remains were found in a marshy area near Gilgo Beach. However, they determined her killing was completely unrelated. During the search of Shannon, the police found something very grim. They discovered the remains of other unidentified individuals. That's when they realized this is the work of a serial killer. Some of the remains were found in burlap sacks, leading to one of his nicknames, the Gilgo Beach Killer. There have been many theories and speculations about the killer's identity over the years, ranging from the involvement of multiple individuals to theories implicating law enforcement. However, there has been no evidence to support either one of these. The four women, all in their mid-20s, were later identified by DNA evidence in 2011. Melissa Barthelemy was last seen alive in July 12, 2009. She was 24 years old and was living in the Bronx at the time she went missing. On the night she disappeared, Melissa told a friend that she was going to see a man and return later that night. Her mother reported her missing on July 18th after not hearing back from her. After she was labeled missing, her younger sister Amanda began receiving calls, which never lasted more than 3 minutes, and they were from an unidentified male caller, the police said. The caller would repeatedly taunt her and in one call even confessed to killing her older sister, Melissa. Like what? Melissa's remains were discovered on the north side of Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach on December 11th, 2010. Although she was the first of the four to be found, police say she was likely to be the second woman to be killed. Amber Lynn Costello was 27 years old and lived in West Babylon. She was last seen on September 2nd, 2010. Amber and her roommates, a woman and 2 men, were all on heroin according to the police. To support her bad habits, Amber and her female roommate worked as escorts and advertised on Craigslist. That's crazy considering there were 2 other male individuals in the home. Who knows what could have happened? According to the police, Amber was last seen leaving with her home with no shoes on, without her phone, to meet a client. She was actually never reported missing, matter of fact. Her remains were found on December 13, 2010 on the north side of Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. Got a pattern going on here, don't we? Maureen Brenyard Barnes was 25 years old and lived in Norwich when she disappeared. Maureen was reported missing by an associate for the Norwich Police Department on July 14, 2007. About 9 days after the police found out she took a train to Manhattan, she worked as an escort and advertised on Craigslist as well, just like the other girls. She was last heard from on July 9, 2007, when she let a friend know that she was leaving the motel room to meet somebody for an out call, is what they said. Maureen was found on December 13, 2010 on the north side of Ocean Parkway, once again near Gilgo Beach. She is believed to be the first victim according to the police. Megan Waterman was 22 years old and lived in Scarborough, Maine when she went missing. What did she do for work? That's right, you guessed it. She was an escort and advertised her work on Craigslist and Backpage. Is that a surprise? No. She was last seen on June 6, 2010 in Maine. Her family saw her boarding a New York-bound Concord Trailway bus. Megan was staying at a Holiday Inn on Long Island and left the area at 1:30 a.m. to meet a client, police said. She was reported missing to the Scarborough Police Department 2 days later by relatives who said it was unlike her to call them to check on her then 3-year-old daughter, the police reported. Megan's remains were found on December 13th, 2010 on the north side of Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach. The Long Island serial killer case remained one of the most mysterious and unsolved serial killings in recent history, but now we have him in bars. And who is it, you're wondering? Well, you're about to find out. Rex Andrew Heuermann, an architect who lived most of his life in Nassau County and worked in Manhattan. He was arrested after an avalanche of evidence came crashing down on him. Here is what Suffolk County District Attorney Raymond Tierney had to say.
I just want to talk a little bit about the evidence in the case. They were, their bodies were recovered. They were buried in a similar fashion, at a similar location, in a similar way. All the women were petite. They were, they all did the same thing for a living. They all advertised the same way. And there were, immediately, there were similarities with regard to the crime scenes. All of the women were bound at the head, at the midsection, or at the chest, and later at the legs. Their sisters, their children, and he was trying to locate those individuals. That was used during the commission of the Amber Costello crime, that Chevy Avalanche was in South Carolina. And again, with the help of our partners, we were able to capture, we were able to seize that Chevy Avalanche pursuant to a search warrant, and we're certainly going to analyze that. In addition to that, pursuant to the arrest of the defendant last night by the Suffolk County Police Department, we obtained one of his burner phones, his last burner phones. The investigation, as I said, this case is not over, it's only beginning. We're continuing to execute search warrants, and we anticipate getting more evidence.
Rex Andrew Heuermann has been charged with first and second degree murder for the deaths of 3 of the victims, so that detective is definitely right when he says it's only the beginning. I don't know if you remember it or not, but earlier in the video I actually stated how many bodies were found, and it is way more than how many we just discussed. So the police definitely got some more investigating to do, but so far I think we got our killer.